Okay, I'm going to show you how to make a fill layer in Photopea to make your own patterns. So if you go to Photopea, click on the online editor, and we're going to do a file new to get a new sheet of paper. So I'll just choose one of the presets, file new. Obviously you can choose your own dimensions here. Actually, that's okay. We'll just choose those. You might want to look at the dots per inch. That's quite a low resolution, 72. So if you want really detailed work, I would move it up. So let's just make it 150 and say create. Okay, so to make a pattern of your own that you can use, you need to open the image that you want to repeat. So we'll go to File, Open. If you just open it up on your drive just before this, then it will be in your recent images, although I'm not sure the one I want will be in my recent images now because I've not seen it just yet. So if you can't find it in recent, go to Google Drive and find it through that. So just wait to see what loads up. I'm looking for an image of a clock that I saved out of a slideshow. So I'm just going to look down. I think it probably was a while ago that I opened the image. Could be these. Yes, okay. So you can select a few. Get these three. If you hold down Control and you click, you can get more than one image. So I'm just gonna, okay, let's work with this clock. So if I use the quick selection tool, which is hiding behind those tools if it's not showing, and I just click inside this shape and make sure it's on Add To, and I keep clicking, I should be able to get most of the shape. It's not really what I want, so let's take away the surrounding. Okay, we'll try it a different way. We'll try the object selection and see if this gets it. No, let's try the magic wand then. So sometimes it depends on the quality of your image, what you're able to select. So I've got the magic wand. I'm going to click on the background and keep adding to the selection. You have to make sure it's on Add To. This is to, I might just try the magnetic lasso. Okay, so I'm going to get the magnetic lasso and draw around this object. Okay. I'm actually going to use a different object because this is going to take a long time and I want to show you quickly. But whatever you need to select, use the right tools to select it quickly. So I'm going to go with the quick selection tool and click inside this object. So this is much easier to select. It's more contrasting to its background. So it was one click selected. So we'll select the inverse, press backspace to delete it. And then I'm going to do select inverse, edit, transform, rotate clockwise. Oops. Edit, transform, scale. And then I'm going to hold down the shift key so I don't change the proportions. I'm just going to make it fit within the picture frame. You have to say yes to any transformation, so I click the tick. We'll do edit, transform, flip vertically. Okay, so I've got the clock selected by itself. I'm going to select the inverse. So I've got the background selected and I am going to fill this colour here. So I'm going to get the fill bucket, paint bucket, and I've got a yellow that I'm just going to click to fill. Oh, sorry, I've changed it to black. I get a nice yellow to contrast the clock, and I'll fill the background. So now I can do select, deselect, and I can crop so that the clock fills most of the image. So this is what's going to be the pattern. So I will say yes to that. So I've shrunk the image. So this is the whole image that's going to get repeated. When it repeats in a fill, it repeats in a grid formation. So I'll put one clock there, another clock next to it, a clock beneath it. So as if there's one clock in each grid. So then if we go to edit, define new pattern, and it's added that pattern to a library of patterns. Okay, so now if I go in my new project and I do layer, new fill layer, pattern fill. Now it's chosen this pattern, but I can choose which pattern I want. And there's my clock as one of the patterns to choose. So there's the clock that I can make the pattern with. And then I can change the scale of the clock so that it's bigger. So there's loads of clocks or a few clocks, depending on the scale of it. Okay, so that's then a layer in your picture. So then if you want to draw things on top of that layer, you can't actually edit that layer, but you can put masks over it and things like that. But an easier thing to do is just to add a layer on top, and then you can paint things on that layer. So if you've got a large brush, a large fuzzy brush, let's say, and then you just paint on this layer, on the layer above, then you can sort of take away elements of this and use it as sort of pattern within your work in this way. So you can sort of obscure parts. You could select, say you wanted the pattern within a circular shape. So on the layer above, you could select a circle, select the inverse, and then fill this area. So we're filling all this area. And so you're left with essentially a circle of patterns, which, yes, is on another layer, but it's a layer seen through a layer. So you could then harness that, you could merge the layers, and then that would become, so if you hold down Control, you can merge layers and they become one. And then you do have, so then you do have that as a circle, and you can select it as a circle and move it around by, so you could select the yellow, or you could draw a circle around that, and then you've got a pattern of your own that you can use. So it's a good way of making patterns out of images that you've collected, although you have to be aware that it will only put them in line with them. You can't do fancy things like half drop patterns or anything.